Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly for pricing, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing a model that launched in 2012, the 41mm Lange Sohne Datograph Flyback Up Down. The successor to the 39mm original, this one is larger, adds a power reserve indicator, and expands the power reserve from 36 to 60 hours. The timepiece, in addition to being 41 millimeters in diameter, is 13.7 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, 48.4 millimeters with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. You can see down the barrel, it's broad, but not excessively so. I could recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference, but take note, it will wear larger and appear larger than the 39mm predecessor. However, because the domed bezel is remarkably broad and steeply sloped, you should be able to fit this underneath a dress cuff, even a tight shirt sleeve, so its dress watch credentials remain intact. Rose gold, black dial, and brown alligator leather strap. Large rectangular scale alligator leather with a little bit of a reddish undertone. It has folded edges, a monotone stitch, and some bolstering to add volume. On the underside, black calfskin, and you can see this is an Lange Sohne factory strap in brand new condition. A pin buckle, and as I always like to say, the Lange pin buckle is thoughtfully designed. It is attractive externally, but it also features a couple of substantial design changes that improve the experience. One is this elevated bridge, which is higher than the prongs on the side, that allows the strap to fit inside the buckle rather than stack up underneath it, so it's a little bit more flush on the wrist. There's also this retaining bar. That's there if, like me, you have a small wrist and you're going to make a second hole beyond the smallest hole on the strap, or simply strap it down tightly on the existing smallest hole. Sometimes a tightly strapped watch can be hard to remove. This little retaining bar prevents that eventuality. Taking a quick look at the case, you can see it's a combination of satin and polish to break up the apparent mass, and you can see that the case back is stepped in rather dramatically, so when the watch is on the wrist, it does look considerably thinner than it is. Satin finish to break up the polish, and a couple of different facets as we have the domed portion of the bezel, and then we have a vertical portion that abuts the mid case. The same is true for the case back. The lugs are stepped out from the case band, and you can see they're all of high polish. We have rectangular curved pushers that are actually beveled on their edges, polished on their sides, and their outer faces are satin finished. A Lange branded crown, flip over to the dial. The dial is made of solid sterling silver, like a silver dollar. It is galvanized, the black color you see right here, but this watch is precious metal inside and out. You can see there are sunken registers in silver, blued register hands, a power reserve indicator for the 60-hour power reserve down at 6 o'clock, the double-digit date display, and the watch, of course, is loomed, so it's a little bit sportier than you might think, with the luminescence on the dial and the tachymeter scale for gauging the speed of, for example, a race car over a kilometer, and it is base 1,000 meters. There is a push-button change system for the date, which feels as good as a fine column wheel chronograph until you realize that this is a fine column wheel chronograph that absolutely sets the standard for the space. The pushers seem to suck themselves in. They're so remarkably fluid, so well calibrated that the Dado is really by itself in terms of pusher feel in the market. It's also a flyback chrono, which means you can reset it and restart it just by pushing the reset trigger. You do not need to stop first, and of course pull the crown out, stop everything. It does include hacking seconds. Of course, 18-karat gold frame for the date, the indices, as well as the hands. Turn it all over, you have caliber L9516, an upgrade of the original. You can see it's aesthetically almost the same. The big change, of course, is going to be the addition of the power reserve and the longer power reserve autonomy. You have the indicator on the dial, a bigger barrel internally, but the watch itself looks the same as the original Dado from the reverse side, and that's a good thing. You can see that it is a column wheel and lateral clutch chronograph. It beats away at 18,000 vibrations per hour. It pivots on, as you can see, 46 joules. It is 5-position adjusted, which is the standard for high horology and a chronometer, and it has a free-sprung balance with an overcoil hairspring. The free-sprung balance meaning can take that 5-position adjustment and hold it better in the face of shocks, and then the overcoil hairspring, which is made by hand and not universal on Lange watches, that allows this big slow-beating balance to avoid gaining or losing time regardless of the position of the watch. Now, everything that appears golden hued is German silver, nickel, copper, zinc, with the copper giving it the gold golden hue. Everything that looks silver is stainless steel. Those are the chronograph components. And the chronograph components are either black polished, as you can see with the column wheel itself, or satinated on their top and then beautifully beveled with a mirror shine on their edge. The same mirrored anglage is applied to the edge of the bridges on the watch itself, so the German silver finished the same standards with glasuta stripes perfectly aligned across bridges. We have black polished screws for adjustment of the timing of the chronograph and the mechanism, and then we have blued fired screws that are used for fixing components in place. They're set in golden chaton for the pivot jewels. The pivot jewels are in chaton, fixed in place by screws, because that is a nod to the pocket watch era of Lange watch manufacturing. You can also see there is a freehand engraved balance cock underneath the black polished swan's neck regulator. All of this 30 meters water resistant. It is quite simply one of the finest chronograph watches you can buy at any price. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Back with the Datograph by night.